Hello there, this is Sohail Hasni, your host at Energypreneurs. Cheap solar power, batteries, and electric vehicles are changing the transport and energy sector as we know. I bring in guests to this podcast who will help you with their ideas to navigate this energy transition. Thank you for joining. Hi, Lynnaire. Good morning. I like your colorful background. Maybe you introduce yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. I am a New Zealand-based LinkedIn trainer, strategist, author, and someone who cares a lot about the environment. In my spare time, I'm a gardener. And so I see a lot of crossover between the discussion that we're going to have today and my personal interest. But when it comes to LinkedIn, I'm a firm believer that it has huge opportunities for everybody who works in the environmental arena. No matter what it is you're doing and at what level you're working, LinkedIn can help. I help people through profile makeovers and working with companies on their brand presence. I also have a Linkability members community to leverage the power of LinkedIn. I talk about LinkedIn wherever and whenever I can because I'm an absolute fan.
Wonderful. That's good because almost all of my podcast guests came through LinkedIn, the connections, the relationship we have built over the years. And I also have crowdsourced rather, a lot of ideas, problems that you say, okay, what do you think? Yeah, it's amazing. Where should we start? If somebody who is new in LinkedIn and said, you know what, I have some interest into electric vehicle batteries and solar power, and that's why they came to the podcast and then say, oh, LinkedIn, why should I get into LinkedIn? How do you answer that?
The important thing to think about is why people want to be here. What is it about LinkedIn that can help them with? So it's around their goals and objectives. Most of us are on LinkedIn to meet people in the same industry or people that we can learn from. We might be here to share ideas with colleagues or people that we want to get to know. We might want to learn from thought leaders or experts. There's a lot going on in the rest of the world, not just Australia and New Zealand. I see LinkedIn as a doorway for opportunities. Here's one right now, right in front of your very eyes. You've invited me onto your podcast. Opportunity for me and hopefully for your listeners to learn about LinkedIn. There might be media opportunities, public speaking opportunities, and let's not forget that LinkedIn is a publishing platform too. So that means we can put our ideas out there and get input from other people. We can get feedback to refine them, or we can hear other people's opposing views, learn how to argue and debate our own suggestions or ideas more clearly. And I think that a lot of people just see LinkedIn as another social media platform. They see it as somewhere to put their CV online, and it is so much more than that now. It is a business tool that every business professional needs to be grasping with both hands, both individually and through companies, because there are big opportunities on LinkedIn for companies too.
So at an individual level, people apply for different jobs and curtail their CV to meet requirements if we're going for a job issues. But LinkedIn is the whole persona, right? Because I have done, while we're recruiting, check what sort of thing he or she has been posting. Because that's tell me the thinking behind people, what people are doing. Before getting into LinkedIn, modifying the profile, someone need to strategize itself. So this is the persona I have, right?
Yes,
Is that right?
professional brand. And everybody's got a professional brand. If somebody Googles you, what does Google come up with? That's your professional brand. If your LinkedIn profile, which will come up, isn't very great and doesn't make people stop and want to have a look at you more and find out what you do, then that's your professional brand as well. So you really need to be making the most of the opportunities LinkedIn provides in terms of a fully complete and compelling profile. You need people to stop. When they look at your profile, you want them to look at all the things this person has done and what they know. I wonder what I can learn from them, or whether they'd be a good team member for us. For any other reason, just to learn from you, perhaps. The idea of being able to make sure that somebody really is wowed by your profile is a good one, but a lot of people don't understand they can put all kinds of things on their profiles. We can now have scrolling banners at the top of our profile, for example. So we can put up to 5 of those, and they keep moving every 3 seconds. They rotate onto the next one. And so that gives you a lot of opportunity to stop the scroll. We can add videos to our LinkedIn profiles. A lot of people aren't aware and don't make good use of that. When I first started in LinkedIn, so this was about 10 years ago, it really had very little on terms of the features that are available today. It was all about text. It was all about long form content. Now it's all about the visuals. It's all about those videos. It's about events, and it's about helping us to showcase our skills and experience. It's not just bragging, but in a way that talks about the effects of that, the results we've got, and how we're helping others. LinkedIn is a platform where we can help each other to learn, because we all know that a rising tide lifts all boats. And so the more everybody learns about individual ideas or topics, subjects, and particularly very important subjects like yours, then I think we are all better off, and it helps us all to make better decisions.
Yes, absolutely. But then you mentioned the factor. Do you want to expand a bit? What is called SSI score, or are there
You
better
know what?
ways?
So, Leo, I wouldn't worry about the SSI score. Have a look at your own metrics. Make sure your own numbers are increasing. The number of people who've viewed your profile over the last 90 days and how many search appearances you have shown up in. Those are the 2 metrics that tell you whether you're reaching the right audience or any audience, because if those numbers are slipping backwards, then you are not hitting the right marks. You really want to make sure that you are doing a better job of your content, outreach to new connections, and building relationships. The SSI score, the social selling index, is something that LinkedIn decides on, but they could change it at a whim. And recently, everybody found that they had about 20 points knocked off their SSI score, literally overnight. So just keep a focus on those metrics that really are important. Who viewed your profile and your search appearances.
So how much time people should spend on LinkedIn if they want to take it as a serious personal branding platform?
You possibly can, but it's important not to set too high a goal. If you say, I'm going to post 5 days a week and invite 100 new people to connect every week, it's too big a goal when starting out. LinkedIn rewards consistency. So start small, post once a week, gain 10 new connections, and do it week after week. As you realize the benefits, it's a good idea to start ramping that up. When reaching out to new connections, they're going to respond. If you've chosen the right people, then that means you're going to respond to them. Then they'll respond to you, and all of a sudden you're in a discussion, and that takes time because that's not something you could outsource to AI. Building relationships is something that we still do in person, thankfully. And so it's important to make sure that you are putting your effort in the right place. For example, I spend up to an hour in the mornings when I first log into LinkedIn, responding to messages and replying to queries. That sort of stuff is really important. It's way more important to me than checking how well my post did yesterday. That's of less importance to me than people who've actually made contact with me and with whom I may have a dialogue or help them in some way. So building those relationships is the key to success on LinkedIn.
I can see that, yes. I used to spend quite a bit of time in the morning as well. I used to up to, I think, 10 posts a week. This was more than 10 years ago. Then I almost stopped because I ran out of time. I'm trying to do a bit. I also don't have time now. I plan to go back. But the point is consistency.
And over time, you said something very important there years ago, right? So you have been doing this a long time.
Yeah, I started 2008. LinkedIn first came out.
It came out over 20 years ago. I joined about that sort of a time as well. And it was several years before I stopped realizing that it was just an online CV site and did some work on it and started using the content, because being able to put content on LinkedIn is really an important strategy. When you and I first came onto LinkedIn, you could just post content and build a really good network and engage with a lot of people. And that worked really well as a strategy. Now, organic reach is much lower. So we have to use other strategies as well. One of those is to engage on other people's content. If you put up a post about something that you're working on or a new idea that you've come across, then by me commenting on it, which is called engaging, I can like and comment on it. That's going to firstly help your post get wider distribution. It's going to tell my network, some of whom will see it, what I'm interested in, and that it's part of who I am. And it helps other people to see the kind of comments that I make. So you've already mentioned that when somebody applies for a job, you might look at their posts. Another thing that employers can do is look at the comments that people make on other people's posts. Because if you are a person who does that, then it shows you've got a giving and sharing nature, first of all, that you're happy to share your knowledge and expertise. That makes you look really good. But also other people can tell from what you say that you are a knowledgeable person. So it's good for your credibility. And it will help your post. The ratio of your comments on other people's posts to your own posts is about 10 comments to 1 post. So you can see all of a sudden the time we're spending on LinkedIn is starting to mount up, isn't it? If you were to do that, because it takes time to create a post as well if you're doing it well. Although I'm not above using a bit of machine help these days with AI, turning out some really good posts that you can edit and work with and sound really great and people want to read. So don't underestimate the power of AI on LinkedIn.
Do you use LinkedIn's built-in AI or outside?
I'll tell you the reason why not. Is because it's just not very good. I know that's surprising, given LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, and Microsoft is a part owner of open source AI, which is the GPT. Would you not think that LinkedIn's AI was pretty good? But it's not. My recommendation is, if you're going to use AI, is to use something like ChatGPT and then import what you produce with it, edited, checked, and use that on LinkedIn instead. So I have tried it. I tried it really recently because it can create messages for you, which are awful. You can just tell that's a generic message. It can write an about section, which is far too short and doesn't do you justice. And it can help with your content. Yes, you can give it ideas and it will come up with content. But messages need to be personalized. Content needs to be your own ideas, well structured and well illustrated with media. And messages, posts, and your about section, you should not leave a machine to tell the world who you are and what you do, because it simply will not do you justice. Writing an about section for your profile is difficult. That's why people come to me to ask for help. But do not rely on LinkedIn's AI for that, because it will do a terrible job.
So you have a LinkedIn consulting or a helping service as well?
Profile makeovers is one of the things that I really like to help people with the most, because people might be wanting to change industries, change jobs, be seen as a thought leader. They might want to promote their company, for example. All of these are good reasons to update their profile. Anytime you do anything on LinkedIn, take any action at all, what it will hopefully encourage people to do is to look at your profile. Now, if your profile is not very good, what are they going to think about you? If there are no recommendations, no media in the featured section, if you've got no contact details, if your experience section has just a list of jobs, if you haven't got many skills listed, what does all that say about you? When people do a Google search, your profile is going to come up in that search, probably in the first 5 results. So you want to make it a really good one. So when people come to me, it can be for a variety of reasons, but they often find it difficult to write about themselves, particularly professional writers like me. It's very hard to write about ourselves, but it's a peculiarly Australian and New Zealand trait that we don't want people to think that we're boasting. We don't want people to think that we're showing off. But in actual fact, LinkedIn is your opportunity to tell people how good you are. But if you feel uncomfortable, that's where recommendations come in. Or 5-star reviews. Most people don't know that you can get reviews on your profile as well. And that is third-party social proof that you are good at what you do. It's really important that people see profiles as the baseline of everything you do on LinkedIn. Do that really well, and everything else will follow.
Wow. Do I go into invisible mode now on my LinkedIn profile?
You've got more than 20,000 followers. I think people really like what you're doing. But that doesn't to say that there isn't room for improvement, because the other thing to remember is that LinkedIn keeps changing. There were more than 250 changes on LinkedIn last year. Now, that's impossible for people to keep up with. Even people like me, whose job it is to keep up with those things, find it really difficult. So people who aren't on LinkedIn all the time, like I am, you can understand that they don't know, for example, about the scrolling banners. And they don't know necessarily about native video or how to make sure that they've got a video in their featured section. All of those things can be difficult to discover because LinkedIn is very big. A lot of features are well hidden, and you want to do the basics right before moving into other fancy things.
I have not updated my LinkedIn for the last 2-3 years. Post retirement from Asian Development Bank, I just updated to make sure that I'm no longer part of the bank so that people don't come and
Yes,
get misguided. But other than that, I haven't had the time. If I am one of those active user of LinkedIn, if I'm in this situation, so 80% of people who are not active as me, their LinkedIn profile maybe need a lot more work. So
Yes.
taking a step back on the motivation of doing this, obviously people will say, I'm using LinkedIn for looking for job, business, I've got too many things on my plate, blah, blah, blah. And some other people say, okay, I tried some ways of making money out of LinkedIn. I failed. I don't want to. So do you want to highlight or give some ideas on how people are making money out of LinkedIn as a professional? Is it possible?
I think the answer to that, again, like a lot of questions when it comes to it depends what kind of a business you've got. It depends whether you are selling product or services. It depends on how big your company is and how active you want to be on LinkedIn. So there is a whole new way of selling, if you like, called social selling, which you'll have heard of. And LinkedIn is very good at that. So LinkedIn is not necessarily a sales platform in itself. It's more of a marketing platform where you lead people towards your sales process. So, for example, if I'm putting out posts about what I do and how I help people, I'm going to turn people off. They want to know how I can help them. They don't know what I'm going to sell to them. And so it comes back to how we present ourselves on LinkedIn. And if we are sharing content that people want to read and they decide they want to follow us or begin a business relationship with us, that's where the magic starts to happen. And that's where social selling begins. It starts with making sure that what you're doing is reaching the right audience and that you're saying the things they want to hear or they can learn from. Beginning to reach out to that target audience and connecting with them. building relationships and having conversations. People do business with people they know and trust. Building relationships with people is where it starts. And LinkedIn is ideal for that. And people who are much more sales oriented than me will say that the aim is to get people off LinkedIn and onto an in-person discussion or on Zoom, like we're doing, as soon as you possibly can to really move it all forward. I tend to take the view that if I'm approaching you about what I sell, I may not know, in fact, I'm very unlikely to know whether you are interested in buying what I have to sell. And if not, I'm just wasting my time. Putting in the groundwork first to encourage people to have dialogue with you, to come to your events, to engage on your content is where it all starts. Do people make money off LinkedIn? The answer is yes. It's part of an overall process. And these days, we are all bombarded with hundreds of messages every single day. So consequently, the line of a sale can be confusing. It doesn't follow a linear pattern and then end in me paying money or somebody paying me money. It goes in all directions. You might look at my YouTube content. You might join my Linkability members group for a bit. You might read a few of my newsletters. And then you might come back and go, now I can see that she knows what she's talking about and I'm interested in doing more with LinkedIn. I'll get in touch and have a chat. That's how I see LinkedIn being valuable in an age where we're slammed with let's connect and I'll try to sell you something messages, or those emails that say, I saw your LinkedIn profile and now I want to sell to you. It doesn't work like that because it's not authentic. There's no relationship. I'll do business with someone I've got a relationship with if I'm ready to buy. People need to turn it around. It's not about them selling. It's about customers being ready to buy and being visible when they are ready for that. And it's the same with any kind of writing. It's not about you. It's about your customers. Everything you write, all the videos you do shouldn't be about, hey, we can do this and help you do that. It should be about the results the customer or client receives at the end of the day. But let's not forget that LinkedIn is a platform. So if you're selling widgets that people might use in their homes, it's a little harder, except unless your widget is aimed at people on LinkedIn. A lot of people are these days. Business professionals all over the world, 1.2 billion of us are all on LinkedIn. We're a captive audience.
I'll tell you a story about LinkedIn integrity. I used to like something, it's a product somebody have invented. I will promote, no relationship. I liked it. I'm sure the emotion and how it may be used. I've been doing this for many years. Last week, somebody messaged me saying, I'm passing through Sydney. Let's have coffee. It's a very short notice over a weekend, so I saw him anyway. He wants to build a big company and wants me to help. I said, why me? He said, we know each other for 15 years. This is the first time I met him. And then realized, of course, we interacted a lot. One of my staff asked you to post something, and this is what you said. I said, what did I say? I post what I like. I'm not going to post because it's not a paid issue. She offered that we can share, and I said, no. And he said, that's what I saved it for all these years, so that when we meet, now we want to do business. The point being that clear-cut line as to who I am, why I do what I do, really help. Because I think that's also a very important point, because if I post something, I'm telling the world that's what it is. I have responsibility to fact check, the numbers are right, the thing works if I'm sure. Or I just say, I like the idea, but the things will work. So that honesty, that authenticity is very important.
LinkedIn can really set us apart, particularly those who've been here a while, because we've got a lot of information on our profile. We've got a very good history of our articles, posts, comments, and events. So people can see that we have been here and are active and real. We aren't somebody who's just shown up in the last 6 months, and we have put in the time, we put in the hard yards to build our networks with solid people we trust and who know and trust us. And I think that is where we are going to shine and stand out, apart from people who don't do that. Look, I'm very late to the AI party. I found it very threatening when it first arrived. I'm a professional writer. Of course, I would find it threatening. But now I'm all in because I think it's going to change our world dramatically by the end of this year. I'll be very interested to come back to this podcast at the end of the year and see whether I was right. I think it's
Cool.
going to be huge and it will have a big impact on us in ways that we cannot possibly understand. My aim is to learn how to use it well to enhance people's presence on LinkedIn, where authenticity is so important.
Okay, I wanted to ask something else, but before I get there, I want to ask you now that you tempted me. What are the changes going to happen, you reckon, in the next 7 months or whatever we have left?
I think AI will be as ubiquitous as our mobile phones. We think nothing of using our phones for everything. The same is going to be for AI. We can see people using AI for searches. Last week, I wanted to make a risotto and lost the cookbook. So guess what I did? Came up with all I needed without all the extraneous stuff you get on Google. Searching is going to make a big difference. It's available on our phones. We can all be asking questions of AI and getting really good, solid answers. Look, it's not perfect. It makes mistakes, and we have to be really careful with reproducing what it does say. And you were right about having to fact check before you put something on LinkedIn. And it's the same with AI. We really have to do that. But I think we're going to see it change our lives in all kinds of different ways. I'm using it for business, but AI and biotech, which I'm just reading about at the moment. And that's horrifying and terrifying and exhilarating and scary all at the same time. I do think that we are going to be finding ourselves as knowledge workers out on our ear and our roles taken over by AI. If we don't find a way to incorporate it, it can make us more productive. And I'm enjoying that side of it. But we still need to be careful about how it gets used. A lot of people are going, oh, you're not using AI, are you? You're not using AI for your content on LinkedIn, are you? In a way that's really negative. But do you know, I think that's going to change and we'll all be using it in one way or another really soon. I dictated an entire LinkedIn article into AI at the weekend, and it did a really good job of editing it and tidying it up and adding subheadings. And even now, in the last fortnight, AI, or ChatGPT rather, has been able to create images and create simple images to go with it, all within an hour for a job that would have taken me half a day or more. So I think that we really watch out. AI is on our doorstep and really going to make a big impact.
Absolutely. Like the summary of this discussion will be done.
Yes.
And I used
Yeah.
to do it personally. It will take me half an hour, sometime longer if I have not done it immediately. Now all I take this audio, once it is edited, someone edits it. I upload to Otter, get the text. I upload the text to ChatGPT and I have a response. It goes through this and gives me a succinct summary. And in that, I also ask it to check your LinkedIn profile and other profiles to make sure that paragraph and propose 3 titles. And then I, of course, go through. I change. I don't like things. But it's less than 3 minutes as opposed to half an hour that used to take me.
Exactly. And I do the same with my LinkedIn live streams. I'll do the event on a Thursday. By Friday morning, I'll have a post summarizing the entire thing into an article. One of the guests, a LinkedIn trainer, was astonished that I could do that in such a short period of time. That's the kind of thing that would take hours to do. And imagine what we can do with that time. We can either create more content, help more people, record lots more podcasts, and I can do more live streams. So there are lots of ways that this is going to make a big difference to us personally and professionally.
Yeah, simple things. We had to drop somebody to a friend's place, 40 minutes drive. We also had to breakfast. I just did a quick on ChatGPT. Going from here to there, we need to find a restaurant that takes quick and must have this on the menu. It's open on a Tuesday morning. Bang, I need 3 recommendations. And it cannot be it must be on the road we are driving.
Right.
We went to the first recommendation. That saved me 2 hours of worth of research because I had to call and ask them, do you cook this?
I used it just today when we confirmed that we were going to be recording this episode. I put into ChatGPT a bit about you that I took off the podcast header on Spotify. I added your LinkedIn headline. I said what we were going to be talking about today. And then I asked it to come up with the questions that you were likely to ask me. And I've got this big long list of questions here that I've scribbled all over because myself, I still write by hand. And I just found that myself feeling much more prepared for an interview, having ChatGPT into your seat and having it tell me what questions you were going to ask.
Oh my God. So I should have asked a lot more interesting questions than what you got
That's
on your
not a
list.
great interesting question, but I have just
Okay, let me ask one question. I experimented with this once, but I want to do a bit more. I posted an article on hydrogen done by McKinsey many years ago, I think about 3-4 years ago. So that had 200,000 views or comments. And it's like, I was a bit scared. What's going on? Then I gathered the top 6 commentators and said, hey, let's have a chat about this topic on Zoom, which became a podcast episode, one of my most popular episodes, in fact. And the title came out, The Dark Side of Hydrogen.
It's a good title.
Because it had a lot of comment. 3 people are global leader on these issues. And then I thought, hey, that was very good value for me because I read that article maybe half an hour, did another half an hour on posting, and spent overall maybe 2-3 hours. But the knowledge I got about hydrogen was solid from all these people. The podcast episode did as well. So I was thinking, you are doing LinkedIn Live, whether I should venture into that area maybe once a fortnight, pick up a topic I posted and invite specifically the people who commented and said, hey, let's have a chat. What do you think?
It's brilliant. You absolutely should do it and start planning it right away. LinkedIn made some changes at the end of last year to its live event platform. Previously, we could have LinkedIn Lives, which were like this, where people show up and it was usually a guest and a host. That was how it kind of worked, mainly how people used it. And there was a standalone audio event platform that was built into, and LinkedIn got rid of that in December. And now there's just the one. But the idea is that you can have, as you have just said, a number of guests on to talk about a particular topic. And that's what we're doing with our previously known as audio event, and now we're calling them live streams. So I host it. I'm doing one on this week. So it's going to be about AI, my latest new hot topic. I'm going to host it. I've got 3 guests who are more knowledgeable about AI than me. And we're going to see how that goes. We'll have an audience in the room and they'll ask questions and I'll be able to talk directly to experts. Because here's the key. I do this for several reasons, but one of the most important reasons to me, and you've already alluded to, is that I learn from doing this. If I've got people who know more than I do, then that means I'm learning as well, because that's how I've got to being somebody who knows a bit about LinkedIn, from learning from other people. And so by doing that, bringing people onto the stage, people feel it's a community. They'll get to know you, a bit like that gentleman that you saw, who you've been great friends with for 15 years and never met. That's exactly the kind of feel that these events can engender. So yes, I want to see one of those up on your LinkedIn profile next week.
How can people attend your event next week? Where can we get the details?
You can get details from my LinkedIn profile. It's in the featured section and there's a link there with the event details that will take people directly to it. Now, the one good thing about live streams is they're recorded. So there's an instant replay, which means anybody can watch it in a time zone that's not ours, for example, Europe or the UK, when they do want to watch it. So I think there are a lot of advantages to the new live stream platform, and I'm an absolute fan of them, both being a host and being on other people's, because I think that they give us an opportunity to be personable, to show our personalities, to share our knowledge, and for people to get to know us. I think they're a great idea. You should be doing those. You're
Yeah,
already
it
doing
could be.
podcasts. It's only one step further.
That could be a video podcast as well, right?
Absolutely. You could be doing them 2 in 1. Quite right. Yes.
Wonderful. I learned something big. Thank you so much. Now, this thing have been bugging me on linkability. What is that?
Oh, that's my company name. At the end of 2019, I suddenly found myself on a list of top LinkedIn experts, Australia, New Zealand, which came out of the blue. I didn't consider myself an expert. The date being 2019, I said to myself, here's an opportunity. What do all experts have? They have a book. Come March of 2020, what did we have? COVID. All of a sudden, I had time on my hands to write a book. So I did. It's called Linkability. So from there, I've set up my Linkability members community, because while people come to Linkability to learn about LinkedIn, and I've got a huge amount of content on our website at linkability.biz, what they'll get the most value out of is knowing they have access to experts in other fields. So we've got experts in sales, cyber security, AI, data transformation, book publishing. People really like getting together and building that community.
Wonderful. I'll look it up.
Free for 7 days. And look, do you know it costs less than 2 cups of coffee per month? My aim is to help as many people as I can. I've only got so many hours in a day, like anybody. So for me to put my effort into helping as many people as I can, it has to be directed into something like that, where people can get as much value. They need their direct access to me, can ask questions. As I say, other people they can ask questions of. It's a lively, interesting conversation and live events for them, just like this, as Zoom calls, private events where people can talk about something that's happened on LinkedIn or some problem they're having or anything else that they want to talk about in a private situation. And it's working really well. And I love it too.
Wonderful. Wow. Where do you get all this energy? I like this energy you bring to the conversation. Amazing.
I love it. I didn't always love it at the beginning. It was a bit of a slog while I was learning about it. But when I discovered that there was an opportunity to share my knowledge with other people, and when I started on LinkedIn, I was writing about writing. I had a copywriting business. So that's all I knew. I knew only about writing, and that's what I shared information on. And then as I learned more about LinkedIn, I started writing about what I was learning about. And it's the same with AI. I'm learning about AI and sharing what I'm learning. And people respond well to that because you're taking them on a journey. I'm just an ordinary person from a small city in New Zealand. And if I can help people anywhere, I love that. We're at the bottom of the world down here. I'm not likely to be traveling to Czechoslovakia this year, but somebody in Czechoslovakia wants help with LinkedIn. They do it by being online. I love the fact that we are so connected these days. And that's a very good example of how AI is going to be too. It's going to be ubiquitous, like us having Zoom calls. We do it more often than we pick up the telephone. And it's not about gardening. If you want a gardening conversation, I suggest that we don't talk about that here because you will be here for another hour.
I was about to ask, is there anything else I could have asked you? We have done almost an hour. Thank you so much for your time.
I would like to mention company pages, if I may.
Absolutely.
But company pages are very important to people in your industry to be able to share their message with their target audience. But company pages are the poor cousin of LinkedIn because they don't get very good organic reach on their posts. If you've got a business, you need to have a LinkedIn company page for credibility and for people to find out how to get in touch with you and to showcase what you do and how you help people. So it's quite different from your personal profile. A lot of companies are not aware of the opportunities using their company page can bring, because you can have followers to your page who will sometimes hopefully see your content, subscribe to your newsletter, and sometimes hopefully see your newsletter editions. But they will hear about your brand. They will get to know you. But the other thing that you can do with your company page, and this is something I need to be doing a bit more of, and that is commenting on other people's posts as your company page. Commenting is a very good strategy in 2025 because of the poor reach of organically of posts now. So if you are commenting as your page on other people's posts in a really good value added way with useful content, then that puts your brand out there in front of more people. You can also comment on those posts as yourself, but think about using it as a company page promotion, if you like.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
You're most welcome. It's a pleasure to talk with you about LinkedIn.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Energypreneurs. To continue listening to this conversation, please visit us at Energypreneurs. Thank you. See you next time.